Welcome to Breath with Me podcast, episode 2. This episode we're going to talk about death. What is death? Usually we know death to be you die and you either go to heaven or you go to hell. Well, that's usually the Western philosophy of it. Even some think maybe you die and just never wake up again. But we have to observe who is the one dying. Is it the I, or is it the body that's dying? We have to observe this. We have to observe other concepts, since most that believe in the heaven and hell, or even the sleep concept, gotten that from whether it's religion, the people you've been around. But the basis is it was something that was taught, just seemingly going on with something that was taught. We have to start finding things out for ourselves, not just being comfortable with what someone taught us, because then we are able to think freely. And that's the best thing about our individuality. That's the best thing of us being unique individuals. Though, to be unique, you have to remember that you have to master yourself. And in order to master yourself, you have to think freely. You have to think for yourself. You have to see what works for you and what doesn't work for you, not going on with whatever's going on around you or all the things you were learned, all your conditioning. We're not going off of that anymore. Because whether we're quote unquote forced to, life shows us when we're unhappy, when we're doing ourselves a disservice, when we could have quote unquote accomplished more. We have to remember that we are not the mind. We are not the body. We are not the emotions. We're the energy that holds all of that up. We're the life force that holds all of that up, but we're the life force that makes all of this possible. Makes this whole human experience possible. And I feel self-mastery comes with remembering that. Remembering that you are not the body, you are not the mind, its thoughts or its emotions. That allows you to disconnect from that, detach from that. In doing so, you're able to rise above it. But back to death. What is death? In the Eastern philosophy, they believe that death is an ongoing process. It's the same as life. They share the same pole, just opposite ends. That means they're the same. It's basically the yin and yang, life and death. Without life, there's no death. Without death, there's no life. Just like up and down, back and forth. Without the opposite, the other one is what? So they believe in reincarnation. Believe that humans go through this process where they die and they live, they die and they live, they die, they live, they die and they live, and they're experiencing and they're learning and they're growing. Though who is learning or growing or experiencing this all? The I. And all of us, we call ourselves I, We say, I am doing this, I am feeling this. But if we're able to remember that we're not the mind, we're not the body, and we're not its emotions, then we're able to leave that I singular. That I becomes that just I am, with nothing attached to it. And that I am, that I is everything, is all of us. And our eyes are no different. The I is one. All of this is connected. All of us are one. So imagine one mind being spread out into different, or just being separated to experience itself in that separation, to remember itself. In doing so, allowing ourselves to be free from bondage, free from the self-limiting thoughts, free from the emotions that drive us, that hold us down. And when we're free, we can fly, we can soar, we can live our lives the way we choose to. So when it comes to the concept of death, we bound ourselves. We keep ourselves bounded in fear of death. When death is a renewing. Death is a transition onto the next. That's why in meditation, when we're not thinking, when we're just sitting there in that silence, in that bliss, where nothing's going on because nothing's going on, and we just sit there, you kind of forget everything. The state of no mind. And that's okay. Because there we're free. As we always are. Because this place never leaves. It's the place that is always here. It's the only true place. It's the only real place. Or it's the only real thing. It can't even be put into words. Everything else is changeable. Everything else changes. And that changes is not real. It's temporary. It's just as real as it is fake. Or just as fake as it is real. We must detach. From these human emotions. And remember, what we truly are is the soul, the life force. Because when we remember that all is well, all is taken care of. Yes, death is very uncomfortable only because that's all we knew, the uncomfortable side of it. We were never taught that it was beautiful, that it was a renewing, that this is a cycle. We just knew, oh, it's something that happens, and that most people try to avoid it or even avoid thinking of it. My grandfather passed away, or he transitioned last night in his sleep. My grandfather's basically the reason why I'm doing, why I cared to help anyone. I mean, it was always embedded in me But me seeing him do it, me seeing him work with others, healing them with natural things, me seeing him use natural medicines, me seeing my grandma use it, all led up to me fulfilling this urge to just simply help people, help everyone, because what I'm realizing more strongly every day, that we are no separate. So like I said, me helping myself, me helping anyone, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And that's why it makes it easier. It makes it more fulfilling. It's a win-win. It's more easier to be compassionate. Compassionate is a virtue that we especially need right now. Compassion. If we are no separate, it's easy to love you unconditionally. It's easy to step in your eye, step in your shoes. If I'm being fully open with nothing bounding me. I know I didn't lose my grandpa, because I know he is still with me, through me, all around me. And I know he will always be there, because the soul never dies. And that's a fact. But I'm not here to convince anyone of anything, because this is our free thinking, our free will, our choice. I'm just here to release and say what comes to mind. Because every time I speak, I'm helping myself as well. Because I am embedding this in me. Embedding in me that death is an illusion. That we don't truly die. The body goes, yes, it must. But that I lives on for eternity. It's beyond space and time. And it's beyond all this matter, all this material, all the emotions, all things humane. It's beyond it all. When I sit in that, I know I have not lost. I love you so much. Thank you for tuning in.